Welcome back to the Giants, guys. Two-time Super Bowl champ Lawrence Tynes joins the show again. The Giants finally beat the Eagles, and we're talking about meaningful football in November. Enjoy the show, and make sure you follow all the Giants guys on Twitter.
Bang! Guess what? Yeah, I know. Us again. You love us, though. We are the Giants guys. And as always, I'm bringing you the coolest things every single week. Not only do we have W's to talk about, but Lawrence Tynes is back in the house, people.
LT.
And what's up, Lawrence?
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. It's cool that you hang out with us. It's cool that we're winning football games. The podcast has been pretty hot, not as hot as your podcast, of course. You guys roll deep with a major Rolodex. So, we can't hang with you, but we're like that. You ever see that cartoon with the big dog and the little dog? You guys are Butch, and we're like, what do you want to do now, Butch? What's going on, Butch?
They're in the major leagues.
It helps that the New York Post backs it. Let's be real.
All right.
I mean, they had their Twitter handle has like 2 million followers. So when they retweet episodes of our show, I mean, it just adds volume.
I got to give a little credence to the fact that you kicked in the NFL. That might have something to do with it too.
A little bit. And Paul Schwartz is good, man. He's been around this team. I mean, he's forgotten more football probably than I know in terms of like the organization, maybe not X's and O's, but man, we'll mention a player's name because we name each podcast after a player. Like we'll call it like the, Harry Carson show or whatever for episode 53. And we were in the 30s and 40s, which are like running backs and safeties, I guess, or linebackers. And we were pulling names out of the hat, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I covered that guy in '94." It's like he knows his stuff, man. He really does.
That's cool. Well, I appreciate you hanging with us. We have we're the Giants guys, so we're here every Tuesday talking football. And the Giants have another win, man. And here's what's cool: when you hung out with us back in September, the very first thing that you said was, guys, we can complain about the quarterback all we want. He just doesn't have enough talent. Right? If you remember saying that.
Yeah.
So here we are, we're up to the bye. So does this team have enough talent? Because we're starting to see this team slowly build and build and build, and it feels good. Jeff, Spiro, we've been talking about it for weeks. Like first we were bitching about the line and then Jones, but slowly every week something small has gotten better and better. So my question to you is do they have enough talent?
Enough talent to what?
to continue to build this momentum, win a couple games and progress.
Listen, we can't hide the fact that this team is void of some explosive players. But what I will say is that this coaching staff is A+++. They are getting the most out of every player on that roster. And you can kind of see a little bit of the, you hear this term, the Patriot way. Well, when I think of the Patriots, I mean, we know Tom Brady, but listen, there was a lot of guys on that team. They weren't household names. No. They won with guys, especially on defense. I mean, they had a couple of star players, but maybe some guys in the secondary. Offensively, Tom never really had a 6'4" burner. I mean, he had Randy for a couple years and he had slot guys, but man, they just played football. They didn't beat themselves, and they were intelligent football team. This football team checks all those boxes. This Giants football team is obviously an intelligent football team. I'm sure you heard the story about Patrick Graham putting in a play on Saturday against the Washington football team that got an interception, right? I mean, they implemented that Saturday. This is an intelligent football team. They're playing good, but let's not deny that this team is still void of some talent. But I think they're the best team in the NFC East right now. I mean,
we know that they, like you just said, they don't have that burner that can rip the top off of the defense. They don't have that 12, 15 sack guy. But some of these guys are really stepping into a role, I would say, right? Jeff, don't you agree? We've talked about this a couple times. Like some guys that we need to step up are stepping up. Of course, we depend on Shepard and Slayton, but guys like Gates and Lemieux and Gallman, they're all kind of stepping up. We've had this conversation.
Hell yeah. I think the offensive line has been like the best story of the year, especially in recent weeks, how they've come together. They're so young. And I don't know, you look at I mean, this team is good enough to be competitive because even in week 1 against a Steeler team that you could see how good they are now, they competed. They were there against the Rams, against a lot of good
Yeah.
teams. They were right there. So hell yeah, we're missing a few dogs like a defensive end that can make it happen on 3rd and long, or that wide receiver. We need that alpha wide receiver. But like Lauren said, the coaching, man, the way these guys have bought in, everybody's there. Like by far, they have the most momentum in the division right now. And you got to like them right now moving forward.
Yeah, Spiro, right? We covered this last week about these role guys are like stepping up and grabbing the bull by the horns.
Right, right. Well, listen, I mean, it was going to be a pass rush by numbers. They told you that from the beginning. Graham's a smart guy, man. He's put it together. You lost Lorenzo Carter, you lost Zimenez, and they're still hanging tough in the sack department, and they're creating pressures. My man Leonard Williams is just a havoc maker in the middle right there, and defense is piecing it together, bend but don't break. They just got smart coaches on both sides of the ball, like Garrett and Patrick Graham and Judge. Those three brain trust right there. They're putting it together and they're putting good game plans together, and we're getting by with, we have some talented players, but overall we're still lacking. But the coaches are putting us in a great position every week.
Yeah, I like. And Lawrence, you nailed it. Like they're void of some talent, but like, they bought in, right? They bought into the plan. I mean, these guys are like really. If you put a plan in on Saturday, you usually don't pull it off on Sunday.
Well, that's how much faith they have in their players that they can go out there and execute it. You got the Logan Ryans back there, the Blake Martinez. I mean, these guys are intelligent football players, and they're getting by. They are a bend but don't break. This defense has to be so frustrating to play against because they're so multiple. They come out every week. They run different schemes from quarter to quarter. I always say I watch them early. And I think you'll see, we give up some yards early typically in games. And I think what Patrick Graham does, and I can't prove this, but I think he goes very vanilla to start the game off.
Like on purpose.
And he wants to see, okay, how are they trying to attack us? And then he figures it out after a series, because typically after the first series, man, they play really well. I think the guys – I mean, we need to stop talking about him, right? Because he's going to be head coach talk. I mean, with what he's done with this roster, and maybe not this year. I mean, we'll at least probably have him one more year, but
hope so.
You're talking about Graham, right?
He's an impressive guy. Like he went to Yale. He's intelligent. I mean, he has schematically put these guys in the right position, and you can tell watching TV that they enjoy playing for each other and the staff.
Yeah, Jeff, I thought of you, Jeff, this week because I was ready to roll a tweet out real fast. I was like, why are they rushing 2 down linemen? Not 3, 2. I was like, there's 2 down linemen. And they literally, I think, got a sack on that play because he overloaded one side with 3 standing linebackers, and the other side he had 2 down linemen. And somehow it worked. And I was like, oh, I'm sure glad I didn't send out that nasty tweet out.
Well, you hear everybody's – yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Lawrence.
No, go ahead. Yeah,
you hear everybody talking about in the post game. McVay, Wentz, Brady look confused.
Mm-hmm.
They all are so frustrated after coming out of the games against the Giants. That's got to be for a reason.
Yeah, they do. And listen, we were. I don't know last time we talked, but man, they were so bad on 3rd down. Ooh. I mean, they were horrible. Like middle, all the way up till like week 6 or 7. But, man, the last 3 weeks, and then you add in a 0 for 9. I've never seen a team go 0 for 9.
I was going to say the best stat from the Eagles game, they didn't convert a single 3rd down. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, and if you watch that film, offensively, they started out playing 2 high safeties. And then once we started running, after Daniel Jones's run, I think they played 2 safeties maybe. I watched the film today, the game film, maybe 5 or 6 more times. But the majority of the game, man, and that's what's even more – they're running. One of the runs, the long run that Alfred Morris had, maybe it was 12, 15 yards. I don't know how long. They did that with 9 in the box.
Yeah.
I mean, these teams know, and listen, that's where I'm saying if we get a guy that's explosive on the outside, I mean, to see single high and us not taking now Daniel did throw the ball down the field a couple times. He made, and I think he's starting to trust these receivers more. He has to know Golden Tate's going to go up and get the ball. Slayton, Shepard, they're going to go up and get the ball. If it's one-on-one, man, you got to give these guys a chance to be athletes. Yeah. And I think now he's starting to trust that. But of course, this all goes back to the offensive line. The offensive line from week 1 to even last Philly game to now, it's not even the same unit, man. I watched that Philly film about 2 weeks ago, and you watch this offensive line now, it's not the same group.
And we talked about it at length. We've had a kind of a healthy debate about it, actually, because I don't think it's coincidence that, they strung together, Tampa, Washington, and Philly together. And the common denominator to me, regardless of, him not being perfect or having, the pedigree, but Lemieux makes a difference because Lemieux and Gates are both nasty. And I think they're making Fleming, Pert, and Thomas's job a little bit easier. And they seem like they're playing like a unit, because when you start getting into that, that all 22, you're seeing them hold their blocks. And I thought early on they were doing a lot of skimming. And I'm a little hard on Hernandez, but I thought they were skimming, like a lot of stabbing, a lot of punching and sliding. Now I see guys pancaking guys. I see guys holding blocks and nasty, where it seemed like a little finesse more in the beginning. Now I feel like there's a little bit of gel, and that kind of comes back to the fact that you had no preseason.
Right. And I would, and we've had Soybert on, O'Hara, we had Snee on our show this week, and they'll tell you.
Stop bragging, dude.
Well, getting the insight from those guys
about
what we should expect as fans is spot on. And they said, look, it takes time. Chris Snee talked about how he struggled this week on his show, like his rookie year. He was an all-pro player, one of the greatest linemen to ever wear a Giants uniform. He talked about how hard it was. And then you've had in no training camp, no OTAs. So this is them, right? This is who they are now. But I think Andrew Thomas is the guy who's taken the biggest leap. I know he struggled, man. And when you're left, that's why left tackles make a lot of money, is because he's quieted down some of that pressure off that backside on Daniel Jones. And I think Gates, I don't know if he'll get Pro Bowl recognition, but to me, he's the best lineman that we have, right, playing the best football that we have right now.
Which is crazy. First time center.
Undrafted. See, I watch a crazy amount of stupid film, and I just study that offensive line, and this guy from 4 weeks ago to now, he's more active. He used to snap the ball and then he kind of look, and it looks like he was looking for go help somebody. Now he snaps the ball, and you guys probably see it on Sunday. I mean, he's pointing things out. Mm-hmm. They weren't doing that early in the year.
He's learning week by week.
They're comfortable. And knock on wood, they've been healthy, and actually Pert, I love him. I'm a super fan of Pert. He did not play really well the other day.
He let up some pressure. Definitely.
And I think he might be nicked up. We might be taking that Patriot way where we don't tell people who's hurt and who's not hurt, and everyone's questionable, which I love. I love that we're secretive like that now, because Tom was like that. Yep. And then one other player I'd like to brag about is Wayne Gallman.
Yeah,
is because
without a doubt.
If this tells you anything about this coaching staff, Wayne Gallman didn't play last year.
No, he was in the doghouse.
Or the year before.
Or he just wasn't well coached. I mean, Wayne Gallman didn't just, all of a sudden become a better player. Wayne Gallman's been Wayne Gallman. This coaching staff has the ability to bring out what's best in these players. That's another, positive for this coaching staff. Look what Wayne Gallman, goddamn, he runs hard too.
He's playing great, man.
There was a quote, guys, I think during the game, they said that this was the first time he's actually been having fun since he got here. He's gone back to just playing and having fun. And you can see, here's a guy, not only is he a downhill player, but he's got a good jump cut. He runs hard. His field vision's very good. And that's a guy who's very comfortable in his skin right now. You know what I mean?
He's good in pass protection too.
He's good in pass protection.
Really good.
I think, I don't know if it was Spiro or Jeff, but I tweeted something out and they responded right away. It's think just even in the future when you have now Barkley has got an alternate guy to keep him fresh, Joe. So it just keeps reminding you of
Well,
how
we'll
things
talk
are going to get
about
better.
that later. Wayne Gallman might be the guy.
Ooh.
I know you guys that listen.
Ooh.
Listen, that might be a hot take. I'm telling you what, injury, ACL, running back is not a good return rate.
Yeah,
It's really not.
I hear you.
I know he's an elite player, man, but I'll say this offense for some reason, and we can't judge it because Saquon was part of this team first 2 weeks and they sucked.
Mhm.
I would love to see him healthy behind this line right
Yeah,
now. It would
agreed.
be, then we would be talking about maybe 5 or 6 wins already.
Right.
I think personally.
Barkley hasn't had a good line.
I'm really nervous about this ACL though.
I hear you on that. I mean, it's scary for a guy with that big of big legs. You know,
I agree.
It's scary.
He's a cut guy. He's there's a lot of weight on those lower extremities, and everyone's ACL is the same size, guys.
But man, I hope he comes back because you see, I mean, I love Gallman. Gallman's been great, but
he's not a game breaker.
You see a couple of these plays where Saquon would have bounced it outside and gone to the house. Probably I saw like at least 5 or 6 of these plays already. I mean, he's, like you said, a home run hitter that we don't have. Gallman is going to get the yards that are there and then some, another 5 or 6 because he could bust through.
And Alfred Morris just came in and gave us a little spark, man. This is
what a good O-line will do, right?
This is coaching, man. This is coaching at its highest level. Let's
not forget after the bye, we might be able to get Freeman back too. So there's bodies to put into the system.
Yeah.
What do they do with Freeman when he comes back? That's the question.
I think, man, I think he's explosive.
Yeah.
I mean, but I don't know. Those high ankles are a bitch.
Yeah. I'd ease him in.
Man.
I'd ease him back in.
They're really hard to get over. And obviously he tried to come back last week and hurt his hamstring. But this coaching staff, man, there's a lot of head coaches, right? Garrett, Kitchens, Bielema. I mean, a lot of brains, a lot of football knowledge in that office over there. So they're working together, and you can tell the guys. I mean, Peppers is playing well. I think Peppers is just a little bit better version than Landon Collins. And he's more athletic. Not, they both struggle a little bit in coverage, but he's the juice back there.
That's interesting because outside of Martinez, I haven't seen a guy actually have better form than Peppers. His form is spot on. Like I actually look forward to watching him play because the technique he uses is not taking guys up top and wrapping them. He shoots the gap, comes in low, very, very Seattle-like wrap up and roll. And he's fun to watch. He doesn't get a lot of credit, but yes, he's in the box. He's making plays. He's got a great first step, and he doesn't miss tackles. So like having him there, and you look at his face, man, he's smiling. He loves the game.
I love it when he gets knocked down. He'll dap the other guy up.
That's what I was going to say. He got lit up.
He's a baller. Yeah. Like he would do that in the parking lot. That's who Peppers is. And they need a guy like that.
Yeah. They need that attitude back on the defense, man. And he's that guy. He's their captain back there.
One guy I'll tell you guys to watch that's kind of popped to me on film, and we've been looking for cornerback too. That Isaac Yiadom kid, I like him.
Two straight good games in a row.
He struggled. Yeah, the Washington game, he kind of had that one where they caught it, and he should have maybe went for the pick, and he got turned around. But
yeah, bad tackling. But
he's a willing participant in the run game, and he will tackle. And I think that's what Patrick Graham said. Look, if you'll tackle and you can run, and you know what to do. He had a hell of a game against some good players in Philly. I mean, he had good coverage all game. So I like him. I really do like him. It's part of the reason maybe DeAndre Baker is not even in the conversation. They like their corners that they have. Of course, that's a distraction. I don't care that he was found innocent of all charges, and thank God for him and his family that he was. But you can't bring him back because the New York media is going to eat him up, right?
Yeah.
It would just become a distraction, and this team is the program is the program, and
let's not forget the fact that put aside everything that happened this year. His play wasn't great last year. He was late to meetings. He wasn't picking up the scheme. So he's already got baggage. Even if
he played better late in the year, though, I would agree with that. And he's obviously a talent, but obviously first and foremost, I mean, things like this can change you, right?
Yeah.
Obviously,
Wake up
he had
call.
he had a life-changing moment. He's going to get another chance. He's a talented kid, and I hope he takes
Chiefs.
it.
He signed with Chiefs actually.
Oh, he did?
I think
Signed
just
already?
today. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I hope he takes
Facts.
advantage of it. Yeah,
Your boy.
yeah. I hope he like they need more talent.
Yeah, right.
I mean, my
You know he's gonna
God.
go there and be a lockdown like number two
Yeah.
cornerback now.
Yeah.
But you see the good vibes with this team going on right now. There's no reason to bring him in and,
No.
and mess with that.
I
He's
wasn't
not
pissed
gonna
either
change
way.
I trust the
And-
coaches. Like so many situations come up where I'm like, I'm going to trust these coaches.
Listen,
Week in and week out.
the scheme, from what I can tell, looks very, very difficult.
Hmm.
And it would take him the rest of the season. You wouldn't get anything out of him
Right.
scheme wise. So it just wasn't a good fit.
Not
I
worth the
agree.
headache. It was a bad beat that he got
Yeah.
into trouble. Just
Uh-huh.
move on.
You know,
Isn't it
and I
funny
agree
how
with-
we trust the coaches so much now? They've only been the coaches for like 9 games, and I was like, whatever Graham wants to do now, I trust him. Whatever Judge wants to do,
Yeah.
You
I'm
want to
all on
rush
board.
one guy? Rush one guy. Do
yeah,
what you gotta-
exactly. just I don't care. They give me good vibes, man.
Man,
I
I'm
agree with
gonna
that,
hop it
Steve.
around one second, but the one other guy is that freaking Caden Smith.
Oh, big
His
boy.
film,
The
his
Daniels-
film,
That's Craig's
his,
boy.
his film is teach tape. You watch that son of a gun block. It doesn't matter if it's defensive
No.
end, a tackle, kicking out a linebacker. He is a 95% willing blocker, and he dominates.
He
people.
sprung
Lawrence.
Daniel Jones on that play.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
was Caden
Lawrence,
Smith.
I
Yeah.
have been saying this probably. So Jeff makes fun of me because I make these hashtags up, right? Like last year's hashtag was put love in, right? Because while he struggles a little bit, I think in this system, when he's getting better every week, I thought last year, he took him 10 weeks to get on the field, and then he came out and he got 2 picks, like that,
Yeah.
right? Caden Smith was my other guy. I've been on this guy to get more playing time. One, like you said, willing participant to block.
Man.
Seals off the edge every single time. Not afraid to put a hat on a hat. And by the way, he can catch the ball. So in a traditional sense, I would love to see Jones roll out and hit him more in the flat. Or how about the seam route? Like, I'm not really sure why it's such a, it's like pulling teeth to get the kid the ball.
There's not enough targets.
I'm a huge fan. And I remember this interview I saw with Witten, saying like when he was up for I guess the Mackey Award or something he was up for, and Witten was raving about him. And I thought when Garrett got here, they would use him more. So I'm right with you. Yes. Gary,
He's phenomenal.
He's a great player. I don't know why we don't utilize him a little bit more.
They're using him the right way. I think.
Yeah.
I don't think he's more than a 1 or 2 catch a game guy, but man, he does a lot in the run game. He does a lot. He a lot of things run through him. They go to his side a lot, but man, he's a good player. That's another great find.
And remember, we're a running team now. Like that's kind
right.
of the identity of this offense right now. So if he's
And
a
they're
big part
doing
of
it
that,
with
he's
2 or 3, 4 guys sometimes.
Right.
Also too, as we kind of move on from the offensive line stuff, but let's not forget we were the offensive line scheme was very different than this year. I mean, we're pulling guys, we're trapping guys. I mean,
Every play.
Yeah. I mean,
Lemieux, there's a lot of pulling going on passing downs.
I love it though. I absolutely love it.
There was the catch in the second half to the Ingram caught. Remember the one where he kind of laid out a little bit and caught
Yeah,
it?
great catch.
That was a run look. Lemieux pulled and went to kick out the end. The linebackers all took 3 steps in, which got Ingram free behind them. They're doing a lot of cool stuff on offense that unless, if you watch the film, it's pretty neat to see. I see it every week. So I'm starting to understand what they're doing. There's a lot of 1 and 2 looks. I don't think they're at the 3 or 4 look. Daniel Jones misses a lot of stuff to his left. I mean, Evan Ingram was wide open 3 or 4 times on Sunday.
Caden
Wide
Smith was
open.
Did you see if you watch the film and you could see Caden Smith wide open in the end zone?
Oh, I mean, Evan Ingram was open 2 or 3 times. I mean, for chunk yardage. And he just never even thought to look there, which tells me this is a 1 or 2 look offense right now that runs the football and plays good defense, which is fine. Because I think this coaching staff got Daniel Jones. They stripped him down to 0
Right.
and said, we're going to build you back up. Because you see him, he kind of took a step back. His footwork, man, I wish his footwork sucks. I'm sorry. It's not good. I watched film last year, 10 times better.
Yeah.
He was in rhythm. He looked like he looked rhythmic when he took his drops back. Now he like hops and stomps and like he doesn't come back fluid. Now there's times where he does, and he throws on time. But man, his footwork is a huge, huge issue for me. I think that's part of his problem.
Probably worried about guys.
I don't think he gets enough depth when he takes his drops.
Well, that's kind of what I was going to say. If you watch him, he's not a real traditional 3-5 step guy.
No,
you know,
they're like shuffles, and then he will hop. But like if you go back and watch film last year, and his footwork wasn't great last year, but like he was very rhythmic. And that's maybe that West Coast. Well, Shermer was more of a West Coast kind of 1, 2, 3 out. This is a little bit different offense. So again, these are 10 games. I mean, they would have this many reps already before they even got to training camp.
Yeah. And I
think Garrett's really working with him, man. He's coaching those turnovers out of him already.
Yeah.
You see the decision making getting better the past 2 weeks, and then throwing it away, taking sacks, and they're working him slowly but surely. And I thought Sunday was as comfortable as he's looked all season by far. Like
because he threw into some tight windows, which was nice to see.
He wasn't afraid.
And the only bad pass I think he threw all game was that one right before halftime. It probably should have been picked. And that one, if you go back and look, Evan Ingram is wide ass open in the flat on the left. And I mean,
was that the alligator arms?
That was the one where Tate
threw a little high for Tate.
It was high, and it bounced off the DB's face mask after that. Remember, it hit him in the face. But Evan Ingram is sitting there. You dump it to him real quick. Evan Ingram went here, or I'm sorry, Daniel Jones went here, and he never left here. He never looked left because Sterling ran it was almost like a pick route. Sterling ran inside. Both DBs got hung up on him, and Ingram was out here. I mean, he might have scored, but at least we would have gotten a field goal.
Right.
And Jeff's been hard on Jones a little bit, wanting him to carry the team. I think
I'd like to see more.
Well, that's what I'm saying. At least it's going in the right direction, Jeff. Right? At least.
At least there's an identity now of the team, right? Like with the O-line blocking the way they are. And I've been critical of Jones with the turnovers and just rhythm and confidence and things like that. But he's had a lot up against him. But two things stood out to me huge in this recent game. The audible to Dion Lewis, the way he read the defense, called that play, and then delivered a perfect throw when we were deep in our own zone was absolutely perfect. That's huge for him, seeing that progression.
Really good.
And then after the Eagles scored their touchdown, the 2-point conversion, that's normally when we feel like we're going to fall apart, right? Like in recent years, you feel the momentum going away. And he delivered long passes to, I think it was Shep and Tate back-to-back, 25 and 30-yard passes.
Yeah.
It's holy shit, this kid is ready to play. He's not scared. He doesn't care that they just scored. And that was the difference maker for me, was taking the momentum right back out of it.
They've done that 2 weeks in a row. If you remember in the Washington game, Washington came down in 6 plays, scored right out of half.
Yep.
Remember that?
Yep.
And I looked at my son, I said, this is the most important drive of the ball game. Giants get the ball. They held it for 6 or 7 minutes, 13 plays, and got a field goal. That was massive.
Yep.
Because then it kept the 2-score spread.
Correct.
But that was the biggest drive of that game. And typically we would have, punted or, just gotten our own way somehow. But they
fumbled.
That was an important drive. It was a third quarter drive, but Washington had just went down the field and freaking made us look like a high school team.
Yeah.
Well, another important the one play where he got sacked from behind, you thought for sure he was going to fumble on that. He got leveled, but he hung on the ball. You in my mind, I was like, okay, this is where he fumbles. They pick it up, they run it back, and then it's game over.
I know.
But they're making these small little plays that they weren't making the first 7 games.
It's baby steps.
And it's
the difference, though.
Right?
Yeah. Because we all saw that on TV, right? Because it was backside. He didn't see it.
Yep.
We're all sitting there going, no.
Yep, here it goes.
It's a slow motion train wreck we saw coming.
And I think it was
I can't
53.
believe he didn't pick that up pre-snap.
Right. You would think that he would have felt that.
But I will agree. He is getting so much better at the line. You see him doing some audibles. They're giving him some free. I think before it was just here's the play, call it.
Yep.
He's starting to recognize some defenses, and he's a young player.
It's the confidence. Whether any of us like it or not, we want it, instant gratification. That's all we want. But in player development, regardless if he develops a little bit slower, each week I'm seeing a little bit more. This week, as you just said, maybe it's a 2-look offense. but it felt like 4 weeks ago it was a one-look offense.
There's no
right?
question it was. It was.
Yeah, so
I believe it was.
So for me, and I gave my my password to Spiro. So like I stopped watching the all 22. You get sucked into it and you get lost, right? Watching the play, rewinding it, the play. So I gave it to Spiro. But normally, when you watch it in the beginning of the year, I'm like, this is a one-look offense. This time I'm saying, okay, I see him looking here and then him quickly scanning over here. And I'm like, all right, that's a progression. The footwork thing you nailed because he's not quick 3-5 back and then shuffle up and step up into the pocket. He's more like 2.5, 3, and he's kind of like standing
bouncing around.
Yeah, bouncing around.
He does not climb the pocket at all.
No, listen, that's the only thing that I haven't seen at all out of him. He does not climb the pocket at all. And if there is any forward momentum, it's him taking off with the ball on an RPO or
scrambles
something.
right. Yeah.
Which is fine. See, I'm super patient with him. Lawrence, like being that I've sat in that stadium for a long, long, long time, they're all really good dudes. But I mean, I've seen Cannell and Graham and Dave Brown, and I've seen all these guys. I know it takes time to develop a guy, even if he's a little slower to the punch. New York wants it quick, wants it now. If they watch the tape and you went from week 1 to week where we are now at the bye, you could probably say every week he's doing something a little better. Like, okay, I'm not fumbling. I'm throwing the ball out of bounds. I'm scanning from a 1-look to 2-look. So I'm hanging my hat on the fact that like he's a little bit, gun shy because he's been getting blasted. Guys,
you could see that. You could see that in some of his play, but the confidence that he's going to have after the bye is going to do him well because he's had 2 straight games turnover free, so he doesn't have to answer those questions. And he has to, moving forward, he's going to come into the game. What do you have? 250, 240 passing, 60 rushing. I mean, that's a hell of a football game.
Yeah.
You'd like to see some touchdown passes, but they are who they are right now.
A little too many rushes too. He's getting smacked around.
Yeah, I don't like him running down there near the end.
Scary. Yeah.
Because he's not a Russell. See, Russell Wilson is 5'10", so he can get down. I mean, this is a big guy. Daniel Jones is a big. He doesn't. 6'5". He can't get down in a comfortable position to where he doesn't take a shot. Russell's got a little bit more suddenness and quickness to him. Daniel kind of looks lumbering when he's kind of tucking the ball, and he's number one. He's worried about losing the ball.
Yeah.
So he's not going to run freely anyway.
He also likes to dip his shoulder and dish it out a little bit too.
Scary.
I was just going to ask you, Jeff, if you saw Judge's press conference today, because that was one. I don't know if it was Tom Rock or one of the beat guys, brought it up about, are you comfortable with Daniel, running downfield, taking contact? And he said, look, he's a big, strong guy. We're encouraging him if he's comfortable with, dropping his body weight and getting down low and diving for a first down. He's like, listen, we've had multi conversations with him, and maybe Spiro, maybe you watched the press conference, but he said we've had multi conversations with him. He's like, we want him to slide, but we're also not going to take that away from him because that's the player he is. And like, even though we want him to be safe, we don't want to take that aggression away from him. So he addressed it today that like it is by a little bit by design, but it's also letting Jones be Jones, and he's smart enough to know when he has to slide and when he doesn't. Like,
just got to find that balance because his legs are part of his game, and it's part of like I think it was 2 weeks ago where we didn't run any RPOs, and then all of a sudden we went back and we burned Philly with it again.
Well, now that option is in every defensive end's mind, and that's the beauty of it. Like, you have to watch out for that now. Some days you don't have to run it. Some games you run it 10 times. Well, I hopefully not 10, but you know what I'm saying.
I'd like to see more passing off of it.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
They only had like 2 or 3 of those last
wrinkle
game.
that in there,
because I think that'll be the next phase of that play. Is you're going to start to see some. Everyone knows he can run it, and God Almighty, I think I saw his combine 40 was a 4.7. There's no way he's like a 4.6, 4.5 guy.
He's got some wheels.
He must have ran. Listen, when you run scared, that's fine. Nothing wrong with running scared. Listen, I'm telling you, there's nothing wrong with it. His play speed, but his 40 time, I think at the combine was a 4.71.
Right.
And he runs.
He's faster than that.
He's outrunning DBs.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
he burnt the Eagles in that first game. He tripped.
But
they
gave up. They all gave up. Like, we are not catching Vanilla Vic.
I thought it was so awesome that we started that game
Yes.
off with
Oh,
him
so
scoring
good.
Hell yeah.
on a pretty lengthy run. And
Should have had two.
I knew, the holding call on Thomas, but I knew, I just said, we're going to win this game. When he went in, I was like, okay. And then they put together another good drive, but yeah, that's definitely a weapon, but I'd like to see some throws off of those.
That's what
those
that bye week is for, right? You now you can implement that. You could implement the whole other side of that.
Let's address that for a second.
Mhm.
Okay, because I know Jeff and Spear and I both wanted to make sure we got this question in because it's on everybody's mind. So you got to walk us through this. We finally have an absolute stud kicker, right? Outside. We haven't had one since you left. And now we have
A Scotsman? Is that a coincidence? I don't know.
hey,
I
right?
think not.
But Double G is like the hero. He's the GOAT right now.
Yeah.
So, what is it? What's up? Like, how does it work in his head? Is he like freaked out because he got a positive test? Is this going to mess with his head that he's got 2 weeks off and he's in such a good rhythm? What's in the mind frame
And a
of
new
the kicker?
contract all boiled together too.
I don't think it'll be a big deal.
Okay.
I really don't. I don't. I mean, he'll enjoy his week off, and thankfully, this happened at the right time. If there is a good time to get COVID, I don't know if he's symptomatic or how sick he is, but I think he'll be fine. I mean, kickers actually enjoy the week off just like everyone else. I mean, he kicks so many damn balls. It's not a bad thing to go get a week off, and I don't. These guys can't be with their families, and I believe Graham's living in New York by himself. His family's back in Charlotte. He has 4 or 5 kids. These players have to test every day during the bye.
Yeah.
Well, they're going to be looking for a house in Jersey sometime soon, right?
So you can't.
He's got 3 years.
Listen, I think he can afford it now.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, these guys have to test every day, man.
Yeah,
That's a tough deal.
Judge said today he was giving them off later the week, so they're going to be off Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. They'll have 4 days, but he's like, we're not looking over their shoulder, but they really can't go anywhere anyway.
I know you can't go anywhere. That's tough, man. Because you always look forward to that. But that's the world we live in, right? If they want to make paychecks and play football, then they'll show up and take a test every day.
It's true.
I think it's worth it.
Yeah. I mean, everybody was going crazy on Twitter saying like, man, you got paid and then you went out to the strip club. What happened?
I could bet all of that contract that Graham Gano was not at a strip club.
4 or 5 kids. There's no time.
Yeah, there's no way. Yeah.
He's almost getting like Phillip Rivers category.
Not saying he didn't go out and have a beer or maybe go to dinner or something like that.
Yeah.
No. Listen, he seems like a good dude. He had a real nice, note today thanking everybody.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm happy for him. You know what I mean? Especially we've been so up and down with our kickers the last handful of years.
Well, we've had some good guys. It's just they didn't stick around long enough. You had the Josh Brown incident. Robbie Gould's a stud. He kind of came in for a cameo 5-game appearance. Aldrich Rosas was good 1 year, bad 2 years.
That 1 year. Yeah.
So I think this will add some stability to the unit. And then, if we don't mention Riley Dixon on this show.
I was just going to say it, dude. I was just going to
Beautiful.
say he's been solid, man.
That dude was the MVP of that game. I know it's hard to see, but 4 punts all inside the 20, 5, 6, 11, and 17. I mean,
Special
no
teams,
returns.
baby.
Special
I honestly
teams is
think
killing it.
I think that's one of the main reasons why we've been in every game. There's not many units that we are much better than other teams at, but our special teams unit is
Top five.
Gano,
It's top
Dixon,
five.
Peppers, and now you're going to add Pettis on kick returns
They've got some goons on those coverage teams too.
No, and their coverage has been
they're
great.
not household names and people wouldn't recognize them, but they've got like 3 or 4 dudes. They signed one kid, I can't think of his name, this offseason specifically for special teams.
Yeah, listen.
And they cover kicks. And listen, it doesn't take a lot of talent to be good in special teams outside of your kicker and punter. But if you got guys that are willing to cover kicks, it's a big deal. This is their modus operandi, if you will, of how to win football games. Joe Judge wants to keep everything close, which they've done, and then see what happens at the end. But, fortunately, they've won 2 in a row, which is
Don't
awesome.
turn the ball over and
Thank
good
God.
things happen.
Yeah, we can't afford. We're not good enough to turn the ball over.
Nope.
Exactly.
We're not good
Lawrence,
enough to
did
turn
you
the ball
watch any of the Joe Judge reports where he breaks down some of like
It's
the special
unbelievable.
teams plays?
Beautiful.
He's brilliant. He is brilliant, man. Like
gets-
He
he's
doesn't
He
even
loves
come up
those
for
gunners,
air.
Yeah. He's just,
I mean, he doesn't even like, I'm sitting there like this. I sent a tweet out today about Bob Papa's head, like doing computing. The best part about it, because Bob Papa's a great friend of mine, I love when they pan back and it's Papa and Joe and Bob's like this.
Huh?
Yeah, it's just he's like staring at his face.
It's the best part.
And what makes it so funny is that, like, when you actually think he's been doing like 12 minutes on gunners.
Yeah,
Yeah,
dude, he loves his gunners.
Talking about those gunners. I'm like,
yeah, he did the punt
I said a
return
tweet
today,
out.
which was cool.
Yeah,
Yes.
I was like, I can't take any more talk about gunners.
Man, it's mind blowing though. I talked to someone inside the organization today, and they're like, I've never met anyone who knows everything about every special team, offense. He knows every phase of the game, inside and out.
That's
And
what you want.
he's hands off. He's
That's
kind
rare.
of hands off too. He just knows everything, knows when to pop in and pop out, and he lets his guys though, Graham and Garrett, do their thing.
Yeah, he trusts them.
Yeah, exactly.
And you could tell he didn't have an ego because, listen, a lot of head
Right.
coaches would not have hired these guys, these former head coaches, because then they feel like, oh, they may get in the way.
Come out for my job.
So
Yeah.
he's
Good balance.
he's a real deal, man. I've heard people in the organization refer to him as a little bit of Coughlin that likes to have a little bit more fun than Coughlin with the guys, but like still strict. Obviously, we've seen that with Golden Tate. I mean, that was a big move. I know some people may not look at it. That was a huge move.
For a
To
young
say, hey,
coach,
go
that's
home.
a big move.
Go home,
Yep.
and you're not playing this week.
For a
mean,
young
that's-
for a young first time head coach, big ballsy move.
For a guy making
Hell
a ton of money, and said,
Yeah.
you're not bigger than the program.
Well, running the laps too. Like, how many vets came out against him saying, "Oh, this is an amateur move, running laps out in training camp,
Zero.
and the players are going to revolt against him." How many people are revolting against him? It
Nobody.
worked. He knows how to
Yeah.
get through to his
Oh, you
team.
mean ex-players?
Like
just on
Manuel
social media.
Acho and
Yeah.
like all these other dudes. Like they
Yeah.
love him, man. They'll run through a wall for him from what it looks like.
Lawrence,
Yeah.
I got a quick question for you. And I feel like Gettleman, because of the recent progress, because of how much I love these coaches, I now don't want Gettleman to go anywhere because I want to keep the coaches. Like, how do you feel about that with Gettleman in his
100%.
future?
I'm a huge fan of Dave Gettleman. I try not to get into it with people on Twitter because it's a lost cause. Because if I say
As
something
most things are, yeah.
if I say that's why I don't get
Oh,
into
the
it with
Gettleman
anybody.
debate. Yeah, everybody
And-
digs their heels in.
Because no one knows Dave Gettleman personally like I do, and what I did a Tynes take on my show a couple weeks ago. That guy's been to 8 Super Bowls.
Right.
8.
Yeah.
People just want to look at, he's had some misses and who hasn't, but if we really look at it, this has been a coaching error. I think these last 4 years were all coaching errors because we brought in some guys. Listen, Graham Gano, Bradbury, Martinez,
yeah.
Fackrell.
Logan
you look
Ryan.
down the list, drafting Thomas, drafting Lemieux. We're going to give him credit for that. Signing Gates as a free agent, signing Fleming, who's been solid. He's
Peppers, Zeitler.
Peppers, Logan Ryan.
He pretty much hit on all those, yeah.
Every contributor to his team right
So-
now.
I think he always brought in the right players, but from what we've seen, is this coaching staff has just done a better job of putting them in the right positions. Who's to say maybe the groups he brought in the years before weren't good players? They just weren't put in the right spots like this staff is doing. So Dave Gettleman knows what the hell he's doing. And he's been around the block, like 8 Super Bowls. That's insane.
I think people forget sometimes. I appreciate the fact that you ignore the people on Twitter. Spiro and Jeff will both tell you, like, I've been carrying that mantle for quite some time because I tell people all the time, I'm like, who do you think brought in Antrell Roll?
Mhm.
Who do you think brought in Plaxico Burris? Who do you think brought in Kavika
Because he was
Mitchell?
the personnel guy.
Because was the personnel guy. And people are like, what are you talking about? He wasn't the GM. I'm like, no, he was the head of player personnel.
Yeah.
I'm like, so all those Super Bowls, all those rings we have,
Yeah.
are because that guy was bringing in players. Even take the next step. Jeff and I talked about this, I think yesterday, right, Jeff? What were we talking about? Offense and defense. What did we say when it all comes down to it right now about who is the starting players on the defense beside the front three?
Oh, like all the free agents that he brought in?
Yeah. Listen, right
all of
now, our defense is pretty damn good.
Yeah.
And they're all free agents.
Home runs.
Outside our front, right, Jeff? We talked about this yesterday, right?
Yep.
Like Logan Ryan, Martinez, Bradbury, the kid that you mentioned before. I always forget his name. The kid they traded for.
Aaron Williams.
No, the
Oh.
cornerback.
Oh, Yadam.
Yadam.
Yadam. Yadam. Yeah.
Fackrell. The entire defense outside of Tomlinson and Dexter, Leonard Williams, they're all free agents. He brought in that defense. 80-90% of that defense is completely brought in.
Manufactured.
Yeah, manufactured.
They traded. I think he traded for Riley Dixon too.
Yep, he did. Yes, he did.
So, and then he signs Graham Gano, who he knew from Carolina. Listen, he's done a lot of great things, but when you're losing, everyone gets piled on, right? I mean, it's just part of the deal, and he understands that. But he is a brilliant football mind, man. I'm telling you, I was with him a long time. I love Dave Gettleman. I think he knows the game. He has no ego. He's just all about finding good players, and people like him. I know Steve Smith doesn't like him, but that's a different story.
Well, what gets me is people.
Yeah, that's
people
a whole nother show.
Yeah.
People look at their record for when they were rebuilding in 2018, 2019. Again, factor in the coaches, and they're rebuilding. Why are we looking at the record until this year? Should have been the year you want to see the final product coming into effect, and it seems like it's coming into effect.
Can we just all agree that probably Dave Gettleman is not a very good evaluator of head coaches? I would say that's fair, because
he got this one maybe.
McAdoo he inherited, right?
Yes.
And then Shermer.
The term was the adult in the room.
Yeah. So, but he found this guy, and obviously he wasn't a super popular opinion, but he's the right guy. I mean, I think
he's the right guy.
Matt Rule would have been great too. I love Matt Rule. But I think this is the right guy in this city to handle this organization and the fan base, because people like kind of that blue collar toughness that he brings to the podium, and he's consistent and he never changes. And I think that's who Tom Coughlin was.
Says all the right things, man. He literally says all the right things. He hasn't skipped a beat. Yeah.
Doesn't panic. He didn't get up there and pound his chest on Sunday. We're just staying with the program. And
want to know every week.
Mm-hmm.
They showed that film of him on the sideline a couple of weeks ago where we scored, and he was already talking about whether it was going for two or the kickoff, get the onside kick ready.
Yeah.
Like, this guy's always like ahead. He didn't get lost in the moment of the huge play. He was coaching his guys, and he was already having them be focused. Like, he's the guy.
Did
man.
you see the one this week where he's
Get the F back.
Gallman? Did you see the one this week where Gallman had scored? And then he's talking to Gallman as he comes down. Hey, make sure you get the ball high and tight when you're crossing the line.
Always coaching, dude.
These guys are all great teachers, and that's you can see it because they're not a very penalized football team either.
Mm-hmm.
If you get a chance, you got to watch the post game conference when he's talking about. I guess there's a little scrap at the end of the game there, and they catch him on tape. And they ask him about it, and he's like, "Oh, they caught that on film. I didn't know," because he drops an F. He drops an F.
Oh, did he?
Get the F back. Get the F back. He was yelling at him.
Somebody had a great tweet today saying, like, live look at Joe Judge talking to the rest of the division right now. Be like,
get the fuck back. That's funny. He's great. Listen, things are on the upswing for sure, and I don't know what the wins and losses are going to be. I don't know what that looks like at the end of the year, but. They're a few pieces away from being like a legitimate contender. Like,
get that pass rusher, and then maybe another wide receiver, and you got yourself
we keep the coaches intact next year with adding those pieces and a preseason.
Yeah,
dangerous team.
Here's the thing: we all got to remember what makes a difference is we're all laughing right now. We're having fun again. The Giants fan. I mean, it's just haven't had any fun for so long, right? I mean, so and what I noticed is like it's very hard to evaluate what goes on when you're just dealing with your emotion. And your emotion is they suck. This guy fumbled. This guy threw an interception. This guy's terrible. Cut this guy. So like you're saying anything that comes to your mind because you're just tired of losing. 2 games and everyone's just feeling so much better. Like, okay, now you're evaluating it very differently. You're looking at things like, oh, I can see that improvement. Or, wow, look what Colombo's done with Gates. Yep. Oh, wow, Lemieux actually makes a difference. So it just feels good to just get the monkey off your back. Listen, I live down here by Philadelphia. I think we've talked about that before. I used to work for CBS Radio and the broadcast, the
My wife's an
Philadelphia-
Eagles fan.
Yeah, I mean
Ew.
his wife's an Eagles fan. So I've had to eat crow for so many years.
A long time.
It just feels good to be doing this. I walked around with this all day Sunday, Monday. I was wearing it around town just to have some fun. So in general, you nailed it, Lawrence. Is like who knows what the wins will be? 4, 5, 6.
Yeah.
but
I mean,
guess
who
what?
knows?
But it
I'm not
doesn't
a-
almost. But it doesn't.
They're not
matter
afraid of
anymore.
They're not afraid of anyone. That's what I
No.
love. They're not. They don't play timid. They're not afraid. They got Seattle. They got Arizona. There's going to be tough games. Kyler Murray
Baltimore.
scares the hell out.
Ugh,
Baltimore.
yes.
They
They're
don't.
not looking great. Lamar's not looking too scary.
No, they don't scare. But Kyler Murray, because he can spin it and run
Oh
it.
yeah.
Lamar Jackson.
I'm not afraid of Mighty Mouse.
I'm looking forward to Hopkins versus Bradbury. That's going to be a fun matchup to watch.
That's going to be, yeah. And they'll,
Yeah.
listen, this is a bend, but don't break. The reason
Yeah.
fan bases get so animated, right? Because 95% of them are uninformed. They don't look at the baby steps that we all look at every week. I knew this team when they were 1-7 was getting better.
Mhm.
I could see it. You could tell
Yep.
by the final score, like they were down losing by 1 and 3 and 1. And it
Well,
was just like, it was so close. I mean,
we had chances to win. Like Jeff, you started the show off, but like we were in the Pittsburgh game. We were in the Tampa
We were
Bay
in
game.
every game but
We were in
San
it.
Fran.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jeff, did we not almost lose our mind because we should have won the Dallas game and we gave up that big throw down the sideline?
yeah.
Like one play each game makes a difference. This
Yeah.
team could be whatever, sitting at 5 wins.
I can't wait till we play Dallas again.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Last game of the season,
That
if
might,
that holds any
be
water.
a bloodbath.
Oh, please.
I
Please
mean,
let that count.
that would be a game where these guys would be like, let's bury these.
Right.
Because they're going to be by then, if nothing changes. I mean, that might be a sunk ship.
hmm
And
the way
and
they're
the Giants
going.
will be very healthy, with Zimenez coming back. All right, let me ask you this. I mean, I don't want to hold you up. Thanks for hanging out. By the way, you're listening to the Giants guys. It's the podcast you love to hate. We're always here trying to entertain you. But one of the biggest things I get, Lawrence, all week long, it'll be my promise. It'll be the last question I have. You're always so kind to hang out with us. The biggest question I get every single week is about McKinney. Is he come back after the bye? Do you give him snaps? Do you just let him rest the rest of the season? Or do you maybe build a package or two around him? Like, what's your thought? I mean, you talked to Antrell last week. You're talking to some of these guys. Like, I'm sure they have high opinions of him.
They all like the kid, but I trust Ronnie Barnes with my life, the head trainer. And if Ronnie Barnes says he can play and he's not going to re-injure, then he'll be playing. I mean, I promise you that. He's been in meetings. He knows the scheme. I would put small packages in there for him to get acclimated because he still hasn't played football in a long time. But
Right.
I don't know, man. I'd be very cautious with that one. He's going to be a main piece of this defense moving forward. I would be feet are weird. They're hard to heal. I would just be, but if he's on the field, then I know Ronnie Barnes signed off on that, and I trust Ronnie Barnes with my life. So I would think, yeah, let's go. But if he's not, it's because they don't think, he's fully there yet. But I don't have any problems with, listen, that's what everyone gets paid to do, right? Go play. You don't get paid to sit.
No.
So I would definitely, if he's out there, I think the team makes the right decision. I'll go with what the team does.
Mhm.
If they think he can play and help them, then sure. But we'll see. It's obviously going to depend on the record, right?
Yeah.
If he comes back after the bye, then sure. It's meaningful football. But I think those guys in the back end are playing really well right now.
Jeff, would you care if McKinney never came back?
I'd like to see him. I can't help but think of it from his perspective, like his childhood dream. He got drafted and then he gets hurt.
Yeah.
And can you imagine how much built up there is for him to get out there? And now he sees the team kind of with some positive momentum.
Mhm.
I'd love to see him get out there and get some snaps so that he doesn't have to wait a whole other off season and wait to get on the field. As a player, he's got to want to get out there so bad.
But it could potentially long-term be in the best interest for him because feet are
True.
notoriously very hard to heal. It's what killed Hakeem Nicks' career, man.
Yep.
He was feet. Just these little tiny bones. The feet circulation sucks. It's hard to heal stuff down there. And he had like that fifth metatarsal.
Oh,
I think.
don't bring it up, man. Nick's breaks my
Yeah.
heart.
Yeah, he was one of the best players I ever played with. But feet are you got to tread lightly with feet. So we'll see if he plays.
If he's healthy, go
Yeah.
for it. If it's a question
Yeah.
mark,
Man.
hold. Oh, wait,
He could be a game changer back there, man. I'm very excited to see him play. It's so tantalizing thinking about what this defense could be with him, Zimenez, and Crowder back, man. That's gonna make what I think they're a 16th ranked unit. That's gonna make them even better, pushing up on top 10 possibly, So
I mean, then they get Carter back next year. I mean, so they're listen, they're well positioned. I like what they're doing. They just signed that kid from the Jets that just got cut. I can't even think of his name, Pierre or something.
Yeah.
But he signed a $4 million deal this year with the Jets,
no
and
joke.
they cut him.
Right.
So some players are, being with the Jets. Everyone plays poorly. Maybe he comes to New York and plays fine. So we'll see what happens with that. But I like how they're bringing people in and shuffling this lower part of the roster because they're just trying to find guys. It's free to look, right? I mean, pretty much.
The one thing I'll say, and I know we got to wrap up soon, is that I'm just happy the Giants are no longer, at least this season, whoever's got them for the rest of the season, you can't look at the Giants as an easy out anymore.
No.
Just because of how well coached they are, how the defense is keeping them in games, and now Daniel Jones is starting to turn the corner a little bit.
Yeah.
They're not going to win a Super Bowl this year. This year was always going to be about progress. I'm just happy we have meaningful football in November, and we got a competitive team.
Yeah. Can you imagine MetLife Stadium next year?
Opening
week.
Dude.
I mean, it's going to be nuts.
Hopefully they'll let us in, man.
I mean, there's going to be, listen, for the first time in a long time, there might be some expectations on this team.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Eagles barred fans from the stadium today.
Should have kept Nick Foles.
Yeah. True story.
I said it. I got in a fight on Twitter with what's his name? The guy on the ESPN. The quarterback who ran out of the end zone.
Orlovsky.
Dan Orlovsky. He's not.
Craig was going at it with.
He's eating crow every week because he's bragged about Wentz for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah,
and Wentz is Wentz. He's a turnover machine. He doesn't play like the coaches want him to play, and he does what he wants to. You can tell when he's out there, he's not playing within the scheme.
And he had his horses back last week. Like everybody's like, oh, he's had everybody. This guy injured, that guy injured. Miles Sanders back, Alshon Jeffrey's back, Lane Johnson,
Miles Sanders is good.
He's good.
He's very good.
They could have ran the ball at will against the Giants.
I don't know why they stopped.
I don't know either, but I'm happy they did.
But you know what they did? They did until they get in that red zone, and the Giants have that 12th defender back there, that end zone, and they really schematically scheme up that red zone.
Yep, that bend but don't break, man. They got it down to a science right now.
Because I think they know what they have defensively, which is great coaching. They just continuously put this team in the best spot to win, which is
He needed to get 20 carries. The guy's averaging 6.1 yards a carry.
Oh yeah.
And they don't give him the rock. Shame on them. But
yeah.
But I know what you're talking about. Jeff, you saw Dan and I going at it today?
Yeah, I liked it.
Orlovsky?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, so he's ranting on about how his wife, I guess, basically ruined his Sunday because she's an Eagles fan.
Yeah.
So and I'm listening to the whole, Dan has said some things about Jones that I liked and what would help Jones. So I think, he was an NFL quarterback, so he knows a whole lot more than I do, right? But he said something today that kind of ticked me off. Like he was making this pass, you know what? Why throw at Bradbury? He's the only guy in the Giants defense that's balling. And I was like, whoa, timeout. The only guy? I'm like, that's not going to fly. You can't go out and take a unit. We're looking for as much, good media as possible. You're going to tell me that Martinez and Leonard Williams aren't balling, that Logan Ryan's not balling? So I took kind of offense to it because I was like, look, we're down at the bottom of the barrel. We're fighting our way up every day. And this tool bag is going to come out and tell me that nobody's any good on the team except Bradbury. And he actually responded. And I told him, I said, hey, Dan, look, I love you, man. I was like, but you can't just give one guy credit on a unit that's been balling all season. So he came back and he says, well, I just was pointing out that Bradbury's balling more than others. I'm like, but you didn't say that.
Yeah. What those guys that cover on a national scale, they don't study as hard.
Right.
Individual teams.
How can you study 32 teams?
But the fact that you called him an NFL quarterback is not true. He was
I'll cut that tape up and send it to
an NFL quarterback. He was an NFL backup,
story.
and sometimes a third stringer most of his career.
Dang.
So
that, my friend, is Lawrence Tynes.
Yeah, right. On that note.
Yeah. Thank you, Lawrence. You're the man.
He's great on TV. Does
He's
a great
pretty
job.
good.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, he
because
does.
he's entertaining and he knows what he's talking
He's
about.
smart. He's a smart
Yeah.
guy. He understands that. I love when he breaks down plays, but he's a much better analyst than he was a football player.
True story. True story.
Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of guys like that.
That's fine. And if you
Well-
want to tag him on this, you can do that.
Oh, no,
No, I'm just
listen,
kidding.
you're our guy,
Listen.
man. We're not.
Because I put him in a body bag on that Nick Foles thing
Yes.
2 years
Let's
ago.
go.
I swear to God I did, because I said, Nick Foles, listen, they got a statue of this kid outside your stadium in Philly.
Yeah, right.
That has to
Oh,
ride Wentz
you-
so bad. Like, I just can't imagine showing up to work every day and seeing that. I
That's
just can't.
terrible. How
Yeah,
do you do that?
I do think if Wentz got a fresh start somewhere, I think he could be great. I really do. He's got intangibles on his arm, his toughness.
Yeah,
I
he's a
just think
gunslinger.
maybe, listen, showing up every day, you're the guy who didn't win the Super Bowl. That's got to be tough, man.
Did you
I
see?
also don't think
jumped on-
Peterson's a great coach. That's just my opinion. I think he had a great staff around him for the Super
He
Bowl.
did have a great staff.
And
Really
I think
good.
he rode their coattails. And I think, like you said, Wentz might be better off somewhere else.
I think he would be great because he does. He has so many intangibles that you can't coach. And
I jumped on your tweet, Lawrence. I said, yeah, that statue of Foles is made of cheesesteak and pretzel.
oh yeah, I just couldn't imagine seeing that. You're the franchise
Oh.
quarterback, yet
Smack in the face.
This is the guy that's not even here anymore. That's tough mentally. Like, I know you probably don't think guys think about that, but
Oh,
he
I
probably
believe it.
does, man. That's
Oh,
hard.
yeah. That's haunting.
That was his team.
Yep.
And listen, he was balling that year, Carson.
He was
Yeah.
on an
Would've won
MVP level. Yeah.
MVP level.
Yeah.
And I don't think, I don't know. Who knows what would have happened, but
Right.
I think they would have won it with him too. Potentially.
I agree.
They had the right stuff that year. They were going to
Well,
make
listen.
noise in the playoffs.
We gotta let Lawrence go. He's got some like Christmas tree stuff to do.
Yeah, I
Appreciate
gotta go
you,
help
man.
my neighbors. You know, I
He's a
hawk
busy guy.
chicken, I hawk chicken sandwiches. I do podcasts.
Oh.
Give and
saw
you
that
give and
too.
you
Dude,
give.
yeah, I
you know,
don't
Now
know.
I'm like,
time of-
where can I get a chicken sandwich now? That looked good.
Listen,
dude, go to Church's Chicken. Let's
I don't
go.
have that.
Church's
I don't have that
Chicken.
by me.
I don't even know if we have churches
That's okay.
here.
In
That's
Central Jersey?
Just Google it. You'll find it.
I gotta
I'm
give
doing
him
that right
credit,
now.
man. Like he's like when you want like some good quality entertainment, Lawrence Tynes is the guy, man. He's in his car. He's got jalapenos.
Yeah, I'm
pouring
breaking
on
it,
the
yeah.
sandwich. He's talking about statues.
Yeah.
I mean, it's quality entertainment,
Listen,
people.
I'm trying to stack all the money I can so I can retire.
I
thought you
appreciate
were
that,
retired.
man.
No, man. I got a job. I work. I got all kinds of hats.
I'm just
Like
kidding.
Jamaica
Respect.
man. I got like
He's
6
flying
jobs.
jets and stuff like that.
Yeah, I got
right?
jets. We got chicken sandwiches, podcasts. I mean,
I
Well,
love it.
we appreciate you hanging out with us, man. Like especially
Appreciate
coming
it,
back.
sir.
I mean, like
yeah.
not only you're a good dude and pleasure to talk to, but we just appreciate the fact that you'll throw some time our way.
You bet. man.
So and listen, like I said, long as you'll have us, man, we'll continue to hit you up.
We'll recap. We'll get together before the season ends.
Yeah, and then when
see
you
where
come to
we're at.
town, maybe we can get a beer.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so thanks,
You guys
everybody.
are paying, by the way. I'm not paying.
Absolutely.
That's fine. It's
Craig's
all
got
good,
it.
man.
Craig's
All
got
right,
it.
man.
Yeah, I
See you
got it,
guys.
man. Hey, you're listening to the Giants guys. This will be the mechanic over there. Jeff will fire this out. We'll get up a YouTube ready to rock and roll.
All right.
Check out EYGiantsRush.com.
Thanks, Bobby.